Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of 2018. I know I haven't released anything in a while, obviously. I mean, this is the first video of 2018, I believe, and it's February, so or at least when I record this. I don't know when I'm uploading this. It might be in March, but I doubt it. So yeah, sorry about that. I promise at this point that more episodes will come in the future. I just don't know when, or how long they'll be, or anything. So, just bear with me. School is going to be a pain in the ass, and actually recording these can sometimes be kind of difficult. Everything after that's fine, but just getting to the recording part's a bit difficult. But that's pretty much it. So, enough of me rambling about, release schedules and stupid stuff like that. Let's just jump into the video itself and how I feel about Warped Tour. So, what do I think of Warped Tour? Well, to put it as simply as I can, I like it. It's a good introduction to Peridot's character. It does a really good job of building up to Peridot's reveal, because they have the whole mystery of who's using the warp pad, and when you figure it out that it's a robot, they then introduce you to Peridot's character immediately, and that's kind of important. Because if they spend a lot of time after the robot's introduced trying to have you figure out, oh man, but who's sending them, you would immediately figure it out, like, oh, it's going to be a gem. But if they almost immediately after you discover it's a robot introduce you to the character sending it the gem, you're not going to have the time to think about it, so you're going to be surprised when you see this character. But given time, everyone can figure it out. And to do it the other way of having them immediately run into the robot and try to figure out who's sending it would actually be insulting to the audience's intelligence. And that is the last thing you want to do as a writer, is insult the audience's intelligence. Because if you do so, in this case, for example, it would have ruined Peridot's reveal, and would have made her character seem a little less mysterious and interesting early on. And speaking of Peridot's character, let's talk about that. And I know it's a bit overdone to talk about this, a bit like everyone said this, but it is really, really weird to see her as a villain, knowing what we know now about her character. And if you think they didn't leave any hints towards who she's going to turn into, don't worry, they did. Not at first. When you first see her, there's a little robot, it's broken. The audience and Steven empathize with it, because it's like, oh man, it's so sad. And then they immediately show Peridot destroying it. It makes her look like an evil bastard. So that's what you're supposed to think. Oh man, this is an evil bastard. Steven Universe finally has a villain that's not just a random monster. But they also do leave hints that Peridot's character is a facade, that it's not real. The biggest and most obvious example I could find, maybe there's more I didn't see, is when she finds the sticker. Her immediate response from a character who at this time we think is badass and cruel, she doesn't do anything that fits that characteristic. She goes, the warp pad has been compromised, and runs away. That's not tough, that's not scary. That's hinting towards the fact that she is not super strong and not super confident in her abilities. Someone who is confident would stick behind and actually, try and fight whoever they think is there. Instead, she just runs away. That sort of shows she's not that strong and not that confident. So, that's definitely, I gotta give the writers props for that. That's really subtle, and I really like that. And that's, honestly, that part's sort of the whole meat of the episode. The mystery of who the robots are, and then who's sending them, and then Peridot's reveal. That's just the meat of the episode, so let's talk about a few other things I kind of like in it. I do like the fact that Pearl knows the scientific name for an elbow, but doesn't know what a human would call it, because she never talked with a human, and doesn't really want to. So she would understand humans in terms of what they are, but she wouldn't necessarily understand how to talk to one. And that's a kind of subtle way of showing that. Season 1 is very good at subtlety, and that's a very good subtle way of showing, something about a character. We already kind of know that, but they're continuing to reinforce it, which is important. That way, when you go back to it and revisit it later and blow it up to talk about it, it doesn't feel out of nowhere. It feels like, oh yeah, this is something they've been building up for a while. Even if you don't notice every time they do it, they have been doing it. I also like the fact, but I've noticed something, and I cannot tell if this was intentional or not. I think it was. I don't know. I don't even know if this is even worth talking about because it might not even be real in the first place. But one thing I noticed, and I might be crazy, like I said before, is that the main reason the gems don't listen to Steven when he tells them, I saw something in the warp stream, is because he has allergies, so he can't see very well. So they go, oh, it's just your allergies, you can't see. Now on its face, it doesn't seem like much. Like, okay, yeah, he has allergies, he can't see, fair enough. But I wonder if the writers were trying to tell us that the reason the gems don't trust Steven is because he's part human. And just follow me on this one. It's not super complicated, but it is kind of weird. Basically, allergies are something that happens to humans. That's the only reason they don't trust him. So my thought process with this is, okay, so you don't trust him because he has allergies, which is something only humans have. Now this might not necessarily be intentional on the part of, the gems, but this might be intentional on the part of the writers trying to sort of hint towards us that that's the reason they don't trust him. Which makes sense later on when she declares you're a Crystal Gem too to Stephen Garnet does, to say I trust you now, because it's like you were also a gem. Again, that might just be me reading too far into a situation that doesn't even exist, but I like to give the writers some credit and think that was intentional. And one tiny thing, character interactions are always good. This is Season 1B, the character interactions are always spotless, and there's no reason to even talk about it, really. And one more thing that I want to mention, which is seemingly not important but actually very important, is how in this episode they tend to go back and revisit old locations. First they go back to the area they were at the beginning of the episode, then they go to the geode, and then they go to the location for Giant Woman. This, and with things like in Mirror Gem and Ocean Gem, or no, it wasn't Mirror Gem and Ocean Gem, but it was that location, but it was in Steven and the Stevens, where they, go in the future, and the water's not there anymore, and that's hinting towards Ocean Gem, which is good. Obviously, it's good foreshadowing, but also, along with this, it's a good way of making the universe feel like a universe. These places exist outside of the episodes that they're shown in, and that's kind of important. By doing this, you're saying, hey, look, these are actually real places. It makes the universe feel alive. And like everything that happens in past and future episodes has consequence because everything is interconnected. That is very important, especially in the first season of a show like this. Now, for example, in The Simpsons, you wouldn't necessarily do that because, every episode exists almost in a vacuum. Within reason, a few of them sort of influence each other. And they all exist in the town, so they'll go to the same places anyway. But you get what I mean, basically. That this is building up the universe. So that's definitely something I enjoyed in this episode. And just to sort of get my final thoughts on it, it's good. I definitely enjoy Warp Tour. I don't have much negative to say about it. I will admit sometimes the Pearl and Steven stuff almost feels a little too mean-spirited, but it fits both characters, so that might just be like, oh, I don't like seeing people upset sort of thing, as opposed to an actual criticism. Because if they are in character, Pearl would absolutely get upset at some saying, well, maybe you're wrong, but would have no problem doing it to Steven. And Steven, is tired and would eventually just snap because, yeah, well, you're wrong. Eventually, hearing that will piss you off. So, yeah, I don't even know why I brought that up. But, so, not much actual, criticism to say about this one. It's not my favorite episode, but it's definitely a very good entry. One I would recommend watching if you haven't already, but I can't imagine you haven't. Just a good job building up the Peridot. Great with character interaction. Great at making the universe feel like a universe. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic 2018. So thank you all, and have a nice day.